I'm Eric Wolf, and my experience in business peer groups has changed my life, especially my membership in Vistage, one of the world's largest CEO advisory groups. I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a Vistage speaker on the power of marketing. This podcast is dedicated to the people who make those experiences possible, the peer group chairs. Every episode, I interview a Vistage chair who has dedicated their time to helping entrepreneurs like me succeed. So I would like to welcome today my friend Jon Strickler, who is, and I'll tell you something really interesting about Jon right off the bat. Jon is the first chair to start a Vistage group in the Colorado mountains. All of the other groups are based in and around the metro areas, but Jon said, I'm gonna take it to the mountaintop, and I think that's pretty cool. What were the challenges to starting that?
Oh man, I mean, the first challenge is just getting into a new, really area of competency for me. I had spent most of my career advising people and less of it in coaching, so making that transition was the first challenge. I would say the second, given the geography, is, if I look in Eagle County, our population is 50,000, where the Denver metro area is 5 million. So we're a couple of orders of magnitude smaller. Being the first chair has advantages, but doesn't fully compensate for that difference in just pure targets.
And so Eagle County, where you are, for folks that are unfamiliar with the geography of the Colorado area. So that includes Avon and Vail, and you're not far from places like Breckenridge and Keystone.
Right. Breckenridge and Keystone would actually be the next county toward Denver in Summit
Yeah, it's
County.
Summit County.
Eagle County starts at Vail Pass and really goes into, I don't know if it goes all the way to Grand Junction, or I'm sorry, Glenwood Springs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a portion of it that actually carves out Pitkin County near Avon.
Gotcha.
They drew it square, but just because of the way the valleys are shaped, it's a little odd down there.
And so basically, what you decided to do is, I mean, this is a challenge to start one of these groups, no matter what, under the best of circumstances. But you come into this as somebody who is new to being a coach, new as a Vistage chair. You've got no ecosystem in the place where you want to start the group to support you. Just seems like a really hard thing to do, but you've done it, and it seems like you're being successful. So that's amazing.
Well, thanks. Yes, and I'll tell you, the thing that really makes it worthwhile is the actual work itself. Is just brings great joy. It's just a chance to work with great people that have great intrinsic motivation, and helping them really uncover their best and bring that to the community is most of the reward.
And actually, I'm going to come back to the makeup of your group and sort of the differences between the challenges that you guys tend to process in your group being up in the mountains versus what folks of us down down in Denver are talking about. But you mentioned you'd never done this type of a role before. You're new to coaching. What led you here? Tell me about your career beforehand, and what brought you to this path that ended up with you sitting on top of the mountain with a Vistage group.
Sure. Well, I started in the military. I went to West Point, so I spent the first part of my career with combat engineers in Korea and then in Fort Leonard Wood, drill sergeant kind of stuff. After I got out, I went to work for Accenture and then a more operations Lean Six Sigma oriented consulting company and I've kind of been a business geek ever since. My passion is really how do you take businesses, find ways for them to add value, and do it in a way that is repeatable and in a quality way. Uh, and that's led me to consulting, advising, and doing, I guess, advisory work with CEOs, from startup companies to Fortune 500 sort of companies, Fortune 50 even, across 4 continents. And in addition to that, more advising, coaching sort of work that I did throughout my career, I've also been in operational roles at startups that we helped to launch and grow to 8 and 9 figure exits. So I bring all of that really experience to this coaching role. And what really got me interested, I was contemplating what I wanted to do next after moving up here to the mountains. And I really wanted to get more involved in the community. I wanted to have an opportunity to give back where I lived. And I was talking with one of the first CEOs I worked with at a startup, Pat Malley, you might know him. He's a chair in Denver. And he said, well, you should check out this Vistage thing I've been doing for the last 15 years. And he introduced me and kind of sponsored me and set me on this path.
And and had you had any peer group experience as a member prior to this? Or was this a
Not with
totally new
Vistage.
experience?
Not with Vistage. I've worked with a peer group that actually I set up with some friends probably 15 years ago, and I found
Very
that
cool.
very enlightening and supportive, and just great camaraderie. So I was familiar with it from that perspective, but not from the Vistage more structured format.
Gotcha. How has your and you've got an interesting background being that you're so you're former military, you've got this very big company experience, Fortune 50, global, all of that, and you're now in this, small community, talking to business leaders whose, experiences are not exactly that. How have you had to adapt the way that you work with folks and your coaching style, both as a chair and based on, where you are and what the issues that your folks are dealing with are?
Yeah, I think I don't know if our issues are all that unique in terms of what we face here in leaders. Some of them are certainly more highlighted than what you might find in a metro area. Uh, our cost of housing and being able to find affordable housing for workers is probably number one on the list.
Well, and even
Uh,
just the challenge of, everybody right now is talking about how difficult it is to find talent
mhm.
and how to recruit the right people and all of that. But you guys have a double challenge, being that not only do you have to find those people, but very often you've got to convince them to move someplace very remote with limited services and a lot of snow and difficult weather sometimes, and it's got to be an enormous challenge.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, on the other side of that, we also have the strong attraction in terms of a
Correct.
desirable place if you like the outdoors and ski and bike and being in the mountains. But along with that comes challenges. I've talked to leaders, and one of their first interview questions is, "Do you have a place to live?" And not being able to get over that hurdle can sometimes disqualify even very good candidates. So I think that's probably the thing that's most unique about where we are. Aside from that, the challenges that we face are, I think, universal in terms of running a business. The ones that come to the top of the list are, how do you find and keep qualified people? How do you put into place the right processes, structures, systems in order to really have a business that can prosper with your focus on the right things and allow time for, in our case, enjoying that great outdoors that a lot of people move up here for. And just broadly, when you have important challenges or opportunities, how do you get the right critique, input, and ideas in order to move those forward in a constructive way? So a lot of what we're dealing with would be the same things as if we were in Denver or another larger metropolitan area.
Sure, sure. What's your how do you work with your members? What's your coaching style? How do you like to when one of your members comes to you and says, "Hey, John, I got to talk." What's your approach on working through that with them, and how is it different now than it was for you pre-Vistage?
I think the second part of that question is maybe the most interesting. What's different in, largely up to now in my career, I was expected to have answers in terms of how do you do things, what advice would you give, uh, those sort of questions. And I really started a transition about 10 years ago to do more strategy sort of work and moving out of kind of agile development and program management and operations sort of consulting into the strategy realm. You start to find that it's important to know how to ask the right questions, how to uncover the real inner strengths of an organization and people, and use those in a way that builds on what they already have. So I would say my style has moved more from an advisory role to a true coaching role in terms of helping people uncover the issues, helping people understand them through good questions and inquiry. And
Because you're not solving problems all the time. A lot of times you've got to be an enabler or a conduit versus actually saying, now this is what you're going to do.
yes, I think that's right.
It's a different job, and I imagine it was an interesting pivot for you.
It has been, and it continues to be. It's a practice. It's an ongoing journey for me.
How would you say that your military experience, both as a student and then afterwards, how do you think that informed the way that you lead right now?
Uh, it's an interesting question. I think I learned both uh, good models and bad models in the military. Uh, you know, when I say that, I was just talking to someone the other day about how when I was at West Point, I often got my butt chewed for things that I did, and in a way that brought a lot of just anger. And I always had trouble, like, man, if I have to get this mad to be able to lead well, I'm not going to be a very good leader. And I just figured that, and I saw counterexamples of that, and
Right.
learned quickly that there's two ways to do things, and one for me fits my style and beliefs, and another doesn't. So I always had trouble being the hard ass, and really found that a good dose of humility and empathy went a long way. And I think that continues to play out for me in my professional career outside of the military and through coaching as well.
Do you know who, very interestingly, had sort of a similar experience is Bob Ross, the painting guy. He
Yeah.
was in the military and he was the drill sergeant type and he got done with that. He said, "I never want to yell at anybody ever again," and and brought out this like amazing goodness in him.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's an aside. Um, what would you say is just like the best aha moment that, and certainly without violating anybody's confidentiality, what was the best like aha moment that came up in one of your meetings?
Oh man, there's there's a lot. To me, I think the most important thing that I try and just across the board try and get leaders to understand is that uh, almost regardless of the situation they're in, there is some part that they have played in this, and some belief or mindset that they have that is probably contributing to the results they're getting. And to me, when we can uncover those and move forward with an understanding, a new understanding about how we might approach that differently, those are the things that are most rewarding and I think most impactful on the leaders that I work with.
No, it's really cool. Um, what's what's the best if you're thinking about your group, and of course you're a facilitator and you're a leader, but in a way you're also a participant. You get something back from the process as well. What's the coolest thing that you've personally learned being in this role?
Uh, well, when you work with Vistage, they put you through a series of trainings, almost coaching certification on their part. And I would say that the learnings I took from that were around how to really explore those beliefs and uncover some of the maybe limiting beliefs that people have. Um, eh, an interesting thing that I think lies at the bottom of a lot of things is a fear,
Hmm.
uh, a fear that people might not really even recognize that they have. And those fears can be fear of failure or fear of being wrong or just not being accepted, those kind of things. Uh, but typically, being able to identify that goes a long way toward being able to solve it. And to me, that was a little bit counterintuitive. Uh, being able to really talk about those things in a productive way, I think, is one of the things that I've learned and taken forward with me.
Um, if you were to what kinds of folks would you say do really well in your group? If you were to add another person or a couple of people, what would those folks look like, and what do you think, what makes a good fit in your CE group?
Well, a couple of things come to mind. I mean, the first is there's a couple of industries I'd like to expand into, given that we're in the mountains up here. I don't yet have a hospitality member or
Oh,
a retail store member. Uh, we're a healthcare member which I think would be just to give some strong, different industry perspectives to the group. So, from a qualitative perspective, uh, those would be good to have. From a personal perspective, the things that are really important to me are uh, I look at four things, and one, I want members that have vision. They want to grow their impact, either in their company, in the community, in their personal lives. People that have grit, people that are willing to work toward long-term aspirations and understand that it's putting in the hours that really pays the benefits.
yep.
I want people that have a growth mindset, so people that can take feedback in a productive way and put it to good use, as well as give feedback in a supportive way and help others learn from that. And then the final, I want people that are fun and trustworthy, the kind of
Yeah.
people that you'd want to get advice from, and the kind of people that you want to help be more successful. So those are the four qualitative things I look for in my group members.
Very cool. And you are not only an advocate for the business community in the mountains, but you're also an avid outdoors guy, skiing, mountain biking. And you am I remembering correctly that you mountain bike competitively, or that you have mountain bikes competitively?
That's true. Yes, I have four national titles in downhill mountain biking.
So you've rode a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Just a little
Yeah.
bit.
And I still try and get out. I haven't competed for the last couple of years, but it's one of the things that keeps me sane and keeps me physically and mentally, I think, sharp.
That's amazing, and that hats off to you.
Thank you.
That's really incredible. If you had, and I ask just about everybody this question, but if you had somebody sitting across the table from you right now, business owner, executive, and they're saying, I've never done this peer group thing before, but I'm really thinking about it. What advice would you give them?
Uh, the easy advice is to just do it. I think it's hard for people to really understand the value unless they've experienced it in some cases. And those people that have experience are the ones that I think are most eager to join. But the two, I guess, concerns that people most commonly have are, is this going to be good use of my time and treasure? And to me, the thing that I think people need to think about is, where else are you going to get people that have the experience and wisdom to bring to your support, that don't have any agenda other than your greatest success, and have them spend time with you, understand your business in a way that they can poke holes in your plans, uncover your maybe things you haven't thought of, and point out your blind spots, things that maybe even you consistently miss, that will make you more successful and help you get to your next level of performance.
And even just feeling supported is important to so many folks right now.
Oh, absolutely.
It's tough.
Just knowing that others face the same challenges as you do goes a long way toward being able to talk about them in a way that's productive.
And the ability to, it's hard to, sometimes when you're in this seat, it's hard to feel normal as a person, because you're dealing with all this stuff that nobody else that is dealing with. And you come into a group like this and all of a sudden you realize, I'm not that special. This is the things that I'm having issues with are relatable, and there are people out there who can help me with this. And it's really important. It's really gratifying. So,
That's well said.
Jon, thank you so much for being my guest today. I really appreciate it. If folks want to get in, if anybody is up there in your area, potentially looking at joining a Vistage group, or questions about being in a peer group, what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you?
The best way is probably my email. And my email is just my name, Jon.Strickler at vistagechair.com. That's a common format for any Vistage chair. You can also find me on LinkedIn. If you search my name, I think you'll find me there. As well as you can always just reach out by the phone. My phone number is 720-393-0793.
Very good. Jon, thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for joining, man.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
You got it. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to this episode of Chairwaves. You can subscribe to our feed using Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your platform of choice. You can also visit chairwaves.com for more information. Chairwaves is hosted and produced by me, Eric Wolf, and to connect with me, you can visit my website at ewolf.live. That's EWOLF.live. And a disclaimer, while I love Vistage and CEO peer groups, this podcast is not owned by or affiliated with Vistage or any other peer organization. Thanks for listening.